Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. I am so excited. I have not seen this beautiful human being in a long time, so it's awesome to see her face. This is the one, the only Tina Valiant. I love your name.
Thank you.
We're going to talk today. She has a book. She's a real estate guru. Gosh, I could talk about a million things that she is. She's also a fantastic human being. And we're going to talk about finding your voice today. And she comes to us all the way from a faraway land called Arizona, I think.
Yes.
Welcome, Tina.
Arizona.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
You look great. Thanks for coming on a little earlier. It's been an interesting week for me, too, and it's only Tuesday. So I love everything about what you're doing. I follow you, obviously, on social media. But for those people who are watching that don't know, give us a little background. Give us a little bit of the origin story, if you don't mind.
Well, a lot of people don't know from my Orlando days. First of all, hi, everybody from Orlando. I miss you guys. I miss you guys so much. It's been almost 5 years now since I moved.
Has it really?
Yes. Can you believe it?
No.
Yes. Everybody was shocked that I moved because I literally just picked up, sold everything I owned, and moved across the country.
What was the impetus there?
Well, I was just done.
Time to make a move? Was it just change?
I was done. I felt like I was withering in Orlando. Like I just wasn't moving forward. And I was starting to really lose myself again. And that was really scary for me because I had worked so hard to find myself. And my whole family lives in Arizona. So I literally sold everything in my apartment, the pictures off the walls, the candlesticks, and shipped all my clothes to my parents and just got in the car and started driving.
Wow. Was that scary or exhilarating or all of the above?
It was exhilarating because I knew all of the doors around me were being closed. And I knew that it was time. It had actually been time a year before, but I stayed for a boy.
Boy, is that not the old story? Stayed for a boy or stayed for a girl.
Right. So at the time, I finally looked at him and I was like, look, you can go, you can stay, but I'm leaving next week. I'm done. And I had a lot of short sales with investors purchasing and things at the time that were in the pipeline, 26 properties to be exact. And so I felt like, okay, I can go. We can continue to work on these. Bonnie Shear was negotiating them. And so, it was okay for me to go and kind of start anew. But the interesting thing is when I got here, I didn't know if I wanted to stay in real estate.
Why? Is it because of the market or you just felt burnt out?
Truth be told, the reason is because I didn't want to work with the boy. And I knew that if I stayed in real estate, he would want to work with me.
That's the best answer. I love it.
Yeah. So I went back to timeshare for a while. I was horrible. Like they wanted me to stay. I'm like, I can't stay for minimum wage. I'm glad I'm coaching all of your people and they're being successful because I'm coaching them. But if you don't create a paid position for me in that, I got to go.
Yep.
They just couldn't sell it to save my life at that point. I was just over it. I went into car sales for a little while. I was great at it, killed it. My brother was like, wow, okay, you're some serious competition for me. But then I'm like looking at it, I'm getting all these checks from these short sales from Orlando. And I'm like, okay, so I can work 90 hours a week here, or I can work 20 to 40 hours a week and make way more money. What am I doing? So finally in January of 2017, I activated my real estate license here with my broker associate license. And because I had enough experience, of course, in Florida to do that. And literally just started from the bottom. I didn't know anybody here. What was
that like going to a place? I'm always fascinated by this because I've always thought I'd like to pick up, just go. And then I think, God, I have built so much. I know everybody in town. What would that be like to completely start over? So you're about to share that, but I'm fascinated by this because it's something I think a lot of us think about.
Well, and understand, I mean, just like you, when I was in Orlando, I knew everybody. Still, I'm so connected in Orlando, right? And in the surrounding areas in Tampa and Miami and all over the place. But coming here, because I wasn't getting anywhere there, I wanted to change what I was doing. I didn't want to be known as the short sale guru anymore. I wanted to be known as a real estate agent. And I couldn't make that shift there. But here, I could be anybody that I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was starting from the ground up. And it was so funny because, I started with Keller Williams, great company, especially if you're starting out in real estate. And then all of a sudden I'm teaching their night classes. I'm door knocking. And the boy helped a lot initially. He really did.
Boy. I love that you call him the boy.
Well, he's there now, so he might be watching this. But he was integral in that in the beginning. I'll give him credit for that. He helped brand me and everything else, and then he just kind of fell off the face of the planet while I was working 80 hours a week. And I think I capped with Keller Williams. I think by my 4th month with them, not knowing anybody here.
Wow.
And I started a networking group, grew that to 42 companies the first year, made, I think I made something like 75,000 in gross commission from that group alone. And just door knocking. And all of a sudden, all these people were wanting to join my team that I didn't have. So I'm like, well, I guess we're going to start a team. So, okay. And I was kind of being pushed into that a little bit because that's money, right? So it's kind of being pushed, and I'm grateful for the push. I mean, he really pushed me hard. I was a workhorse, right? And I'm grateful for that though, because I wouldn't be where I am today had I not been pushed so hard. So finally, after 8 transactions, I hired a transaction coordinator, hired a personal assistant, because here was the breaking point for me. I get done showing 2 different clients properties, and they both want to write offers. It's 9:30 at night. I have 29 voicemails and 26 text messages.
Yeah, that's a breaking point.
I just started crying. I was driving home from across town, and I was just crying because I'm like, I can't keep up. I can't do this. And it was all really from open houses. I mean, that's what I'm known for, is open houses and training people how to actually.
I love that, because I can't seem to convince a lot of my realtor partners that open houses can really make a difference.
Let me tell you something, Ted. So my team, a year and a half in, I stopped taking transactions on my own to focus on coaching and training the team. And I developed 16 Steps to Real Estate Success, which that book is coming out this summer. Nice. And it's all based, it's already written. I'm just in the final editing phases right now. But I built that, and I do workshops for that. As a matter of fact, I'm plugging this in. If we can get enough realtors that want to take that workshop in Orlando, I will fly to Orlando and deliver that 2-day workshop.
Nice.
It starts from point of setting up your open house all the way to closing the property. And then the second day is advanced sales training and closing techniques to really close more business. But my team, based on those 16 steps, I have almost 4,000 leads in a 3.5-year period that all came from open houses. And I don't have a huge team.
Wow.
Just from open houses.
Yep.
So it works. Realtors.
There's power in it. It's a little extra work. Don't get me wrong, but there's power in it, and it's such an easy thing to do. I mean, it really is easy to do once you've already done all the work on MLS, or you've done everything you can do. Now it's time to showcase it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's funny. There's an agent in Orlando, Jeremy Porter. He might actually be watching this as well. And I met him through Agent Hub 360 because I'm a master coach with them. And I taught my first 5 steps with them. And then he stepped into Zoom for my 16 steps during the whole COVID, we can't be in person thing. He's like, I'm doing it the Tina Valiant way. Like, I'm out here getting a ton of business, now money, doing these open houses. And it's working. My wife got her real estate license. We're out here, we're working. We're doing this. And it's all from open houses. He's like, I can't believe how many people come in unrepresented.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I built my real estate world, right? It was all just, that was the most effective way. Now, let me tell you, the first year I spent $175,000 on advertising, marketing, blah, 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 with all these things that didn't work. They did not work. I was pushed into it because of the boy. But, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, we tried this for 6 months. You're laughing.
It's just like every time you say it, I get a giggle because I know who the boy is. So the whole thing makes me laugh.
I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, yeah. Our first year, we made $286,000, but guess what? 175 of it was spent on stuff that doesn't work.
Right.
You got to look at that.
You do.
You have
People
to
don't. It's not just realtors, but people in general really just like to throw as much crap against the wall, even if it costs a ton of money, and then they have no tracking or any idea if they've got any ROI on it at all.
Exactly. I'm like, you can't just look at your GCI. You've got to look at all of your costs. It's not just what's coming into your checking account. It's about like, what do you have tangibly at the end of the day? You've worked all so hard and you have this much.
Yep.
So, it's horrible. You have to look at that. So I gotta say, love having a team, but my career is starting to take a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, so what's happening?
So what happened was literally I had this vision that I was supposed to be in front of women and they were crying healing tears. I was with my mom at breakfast and I looked at my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm on this stage and I'm talking to women that are crying these healing tears, and I think I'm supposed to write a book. And I think I'm supposed to do these workshops. And she's like, okay, all right. Because everybody says they're going to write a book, right? Yeah. Everybody does. 1% do, but everybody says they're going to. And the next day I woke up after I was like, okay, I'll do this. The next day I woke up and the entire outline of the book was downloaded in my head. I just started writing. And then over the course of the next probably 8 months, I would write, all of a sudden a whole chapter would be downloaded into my head because I met somebody that inspired it. And I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I would just start handwriting this whole chapter. It would download and within an hour and a half, a whole chapter was created.
When did you pick, or when did you come to the title? At what point in the process? Did you know in the beginning when you're outlining, or was it a process of you writing for you to finally land on finding your voice?
So it was literally the morning that it was downloaded into my head. It was like all there. It was finding your voice. And what happened was the outline was for the workshops, but the workshop outline became the outline for the book. But I didn't write it in order. I wrote my story last because it was the hardest chapter for me to write. I mean, I pour my soul into this and I don't talk about the boy in the book. Like, let's just be clear. It's about my journey. Most people don't know that my first marriage, when I was 19, I was married to a man where I wasn't allowed to carry a checkbook, wear high heels, change my jewelry, pick my cars, pick my clothes. I wasn't allowed to have friends. I mean, literally, he would get home at 2:00. All the blinds would go down. The kids would be sitting in the living room. All the toys would have to be put away. And I wasn't allowed to work or anything. And that was before I knew all of you. And how I got out of that was I made a decision after being told I may not make it out of the hospital that I had to change my life. And that's when we moved to Orlando in 2001. And that's when I went into timeshare sales, got my real estate license. And let me tell you, that was a fight. I literally had to barricade the bedroom door, literally had to barricade the door so that I could study because he would not let me study. And I was voted least likely to succeed in my timeshare sales class.
Oh my God, they did that? That's terrible.
Out of, I think there was 13 people in my class. I didn't have the wardrobe. I didn't have the look. I was borrowing clothes from a friend of mine to wear to work. I looked like a stay-at-home mom because that's what I was. Right. I had never sold anything in my life, not to my knowledge. I realized later that actually I've been doing this all my life, but I had no idea. And
that's key, right? You don't realize it. You get to put it in.
So, people don't know that. So when I talk about finding your voice, I had to find my voice. When I left that marriage, first of all, it was a fight for my life. Second of all, I didn't know what kind of music I liked. I was 31 years old, had never been to a nightclub, didn't know what kind of music I liked, didn't know how I liked to dress, didn't know how I liked my hair. The first thing I did was whack my hair off because I had to have long hair the whole time I was with him for 12 years. So I cut my hair like really short because I could. Right. Later on, you knew me as black hair because guess what? I could dye my hair black if I wanted to. Right.
I know. I have to tell you, the blonde looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah. The black was a little harsh. I was unapproachable with black hair. So, but you know what? That's how I felt inside at the time, though.
Of course you did. It's a reflection. People always wonder, like, why are they dressing like that? Why are they It's a reflection of what's going on. For most people.
So the message that I want to get out today with all of that is this: people treat us how we allow them to treat us.
So true.
We have to take responsibility for the circumstances that we have allowed in our life and learn the lessons that we need to learn from that. And this book that I wrote takes women step by step with reflections, which are exercises, all the way through to help you forgive other people, yourself, look at the bigger picture of everything that's occurred, look at the dots in your life that have connected you to exactly where you are right here, and be grateful for every experience, good or bad. And that's really what the message is of this book.
So you're doing workshops. First of all, we need that message. We really do. People are hungry for it, thirsty for it, you name it. And especially after last year, I think a lot of people are really rethinking the way they're doing things. And so they need to find their voice. I mean, that is probably one of the most perfect titles for a book. I love it. And a workshop. So tell us about the workshops themselves. Do you, you said they're 2 days, the workshops?
So the real estate workshops are 2 days for 6 hours each day.
And then what about finding your voice?
So we are putting together workshops now. So here's what's going to happen. Those are going to be like half-day sessions because it's emotional work.
Right.
You can't do more than a half day in those sessions. And so we are putting together different topics right now for that based on the book. Like, what goals and dreams have you left behind because you were busy taking care of everybody else?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, a lot of women, here's where we are in society right now, okay? We put ourselves into this societal box where when we get married, men do this too. We have these boxes that we put ourselves in. Women are supposed to leave everything behind because that's what fairy tales show us. The prince is gonna ride in on a white horse and we're gonna leave our friends and our family and we're gonna go live in this happy castle, and our entire world is based around taking care of him and his children.
I never thought about that, but that's fascinating.
But it's true. So here's what happens. Women put ourselves into this box because we think, and we've been taught all of our lives that that is what we are supposed to do. So men, on the other hand, they find us, they're intrigued with us. They're like, oh my gosh, this girl, she's like inspirational. She's got all these dreams and aspirations. Like, I love this about her. She's going to help me get to the next level. We're going to be awesome partners, right? And then all of a sudden we get married and we shut all of that off. And they're sitting there, and I have many men come to me and say, I don't know what happened. Like, where did my wife go? I married her because of XYZ, and that stuff doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And I don't know what happened, but she seems so mad at me. Well, it's because we've done it to ourselves as women, but we're blaming them. We're bitter inside. So we're taking it out on them, and we're grumpy and we're witchy and like all this stuff. And they're going, why are you so mad at me? I don't understand. And then on the flip side, men put themselves into this box of provider, protector, all of these things. And here's what happens. They put their dreams and aspirations aside because now they have a family to protect and provide for.
So true.
So I have to put all of this aside. Well, guess what? They get bitter too. So when you go through that midlife crisis, what you're really going through is trying to regain everything that you let go of. That's what you're really trying to do. But here's the thing that we all need to understand. She didn't ask him to give them up, and he didn't ask her to give it up. We made the decisions ourselves.
Which is a hard pill to swallow because it is easier for most people in general. I'm generalizing. Mm-hmm. It's easier to blame someone else than to look in the mirror.
Absolutely. It is. And that is really like those workshops that we go through. Women are going to have to get real with themselves. Women are going to have to take responsibility. Okay. Yes, I've had abusive relationships. I had to look at why I allowed that into my life. Why was that my comfort zone? Because I allowed it. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't. So I have to take responsibility for that and realize that if I continue to have the same relationships over and over and over again in my life, it's because I am the common denominator.
That's powerful. It's It's so true. And we all don't like to admit it, but those kinds of workshops can be so powerful because you're in a place where there's accountability and authenticity and vulnerability in those workshops that you're planning. I've seen I love workshops, but the power there is that you're finally called on your own ish, and you have to face it and figure out where you took what part you're responsible for in
Absolutely.
the acceptance of that. Let me ask you before we get to the whole how do we reach you thing.
Yes.
You are obviously put together, you've come a long way, you've had your journey. I like to let people know that even the speaker, the author, the person who appears to have everything together still struggles. Is there something that you are working on personally or professionally that you're still in the throes of trying to reach that goal or feel comfortable with it or be better at it?
So here's a secret about me. I am actually very shy by nature. So you can put me on a stage in front of 2,000 people and I have no problem at all. You put me in a room like the Citrus Club, for instance, where you walk in and I may not know anybody. Do you know how many people had to drag me up there and make me talk to people? Because I am scared to death to talk to people one-on-one if I don't know them.
Interesting.
And I have to be with somebody. I mean, Kitty Hull in Orlando, she used to drag me to all these networking groups and I would not even go inside until she got there. Because I'm like, no, I can't go in. I don't want to. And even now, my assistant, Mariah, she's like, when we go to an award ceremony or anything else, she's like, okay, first of all, let's hit the bar. What do you want to drink? Now I'm going to introduce you to this person. I'm going to drag you over here and you're going to start talking to people. But it takes her 20 minutes to get me out of the car. People would never guess that about me.
Never.
But we all have fears. We all have anxieties that we're working through. And to be honest, my coach had to talk me into doing things like this. I'm like, well, I want to write a book, but I don't, why do people care what I have to say?
Well, it's the imposter syndrome.
It is.
We all feel it. We all have experienced it. I've just learned to utilize that word more. When you feel like people are going to not believe you or why would they listen to your message, you think you're an imposter. You think, why would anybody care what I have to say? I'm not the expert on everything. But the reality is you are the expert on you. And you're the expert, or at least the most expert there is. And you also have all of these visions and ideas. And who better to tell that message? Thank you for sharing that. Because a lot of times we'll get off the shows and people are like, I want to be just like her. She's perfect. And I want people to know that nobody talking on any of these shows ever is perfect. And so, but you're willing to put yourself out there to help other people. And in reality, it helps heal you. It helps move you forward. There's a lot of good that comes out of writing a book.
Well, and I have to share one other little secret.
Please
One
do.
of the biggest things with my coach is I'm looking at him and I'm like, do I even have the look to do this? Like, I'm not one of these little stick girls that's on stage all the time or whatever. Like, I'm a thick girl, like, am I pretty enough to be a speaker? And like, he's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, no, really? Like, I had a whole panic attack about that.
Yeah.
He had to talk me off a ledge.
But that's the kind of stuff I love. And thank you for sharing that, because I really do feel like people need to know that the person who's trying to help you is also still going through things. They're just giving you the stuff that they have been through. Yeah. And everybody's human and everybody has a lot of things that they go through on a daily basis. Thank you. All right. So tell me, what's the best way for people to reach you, find out about your real estate stuff, your books? Tell us the best way.
All right. You can email me at tina@tinavaliant.com. You can email me directly. I will actually answer you personally. That's number one. You can also reach me at 602-644-0591. We are a in-person group here. So whether you get my assistant, my publicist, or me, we're all here to help you.
Fantastic. All right. You're a joy. That was amazing.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy. I wish you all the success. We have to talk about you coming to Orlando to do the 2-day training. I love that idea. Guys, go to tinavaliant.com. You can find her on social media. Reach out to me. She's very accessible and she's got a great story and she's going to help you find your voice. So there we go. Thank you for being on the show. It was amazing.
Thank you, Ted.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll be back soon.